So when I was a little kid growing up, you would see stories on the news or in print about passenger airline pilots reporting seeing something in the skies, and it was always reported as a UFO. And if there was a newsreel or there was something in print, you always saw a picture of a flying saucer, the typical flying saucer shape. That was then, but this is now. So when pilots are flying and they see an object that they can't discern, what the heck is it? They still probably call it a UFO. What else are you going to call it? However, it somehow gets changed nowadays to UAV, unmanned aerial vehicle. Why? Who knows? And then when the media picks up on it and when you ask the government, it turns into a drone. And the most common picture shown of a drone is always the most popular hobby drone in the world, which is the DJI Phantom. So yeah, here you go. This is a DJI Phantom. This is the big little guy. The little guy that everybody thinks is smashing in the planes and doing all sorts of stuff, because this is the most common drone that is sold around the world. So if anybody has a drone, odds are they have one of these. And these have been around for so many years that there's so many versions of them, but they all look just like this in many ways. So let's take a quick look at the latest media report involving a passenger airline and a drone. Happened right in my country of Canada, right here. So we have a Porter Airline passenger jet, which is returning to land, and it's flying over Lake Ontario. It's at 9,000 feet in the air, 55 kilometers away from land, and all of a sudden the pilot sees an object in the flight path and takes evasive action. The pilot thinks it's possibly a balloon, but unsure because the pilot can't stop the plane, get out and check. So he just reports it as, saw this object, was at 9,000 feet, 55 kilometers offshore. Next thing you know, it's reported as a UAV. And next thing you know, when someone asks a government Transports Canada safety employee and says, hey, is it possible this could be a drone? Of course no one's going to say, no, it's definitely not a drone, because nobody knows what it is. But since they say, sure, it's possible, next thing you know, it ends up as a drone in all the media, the papers, everywhere. Drone, plane, almost crash, boom. Craziness. So the reason for my rant is that the media and the government use the word drone anytime a pilot sees something today that they don't know what it is. For example, British Airlines had this massive news story out about their British Airways getting hit by a drone. It was all over the world. But then shortly after, when they did an investigation, they found out, well, I guess it wasn't a drone, it was actually a garbage bag. On November 14th, we get a story. So could it have been a drone that was out there at 9,000 feet? Highly unlikely. Not saying it wasn't, but highly unlikely. Reason being is that if you go and buy yourself a hobby drone, which is all you can buy pretty much in Canada unless you build your own, these things are locked in. As soon as you take them out of the box, they're locked in at 400 feet. Sure, you can override that if you want, but you're really not going to get a hell of a lot higher. You might be able to make that height 3 times as high, 4 times as high, if you're lucky. It's all based on the battery power and the communication. Now this plane, this drone was supposedly 55 kilometers offshore. I'll be lucky if I can get a hobby drone to go even 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers in any area that it's got trees, hills, or mountains. Your path of signal, of communication, is all blocked by any object. So there's no way this thing is going out 55 kilometers. And the next thing is, most drones are pretty small. Could you imagine flying in a plane at 300 miles per hour, 400 miles per hour, and you could spot this a way out and you could actually take evasive action? You know, pilots would be dodging geese all the time if that was the case, but you can't. You just can't see objects that far away and take evasive action in a passenger airline. As a matter of fact, think of yourself driving in your car down a highway. Could you see a small object on the road and take evasive action? No, that's why we have roadkill. And one other very important item I should mention is there's a reason why in 2016, to date, we do not have any major incident of a drone smashing into a passenger airline or any aircraft for that matter. The reason being is that airplanes take off and land at airports. Drones, especially these hobby drones, have a built-in GPS to keep them in position in the air. That GPS is also used to restrict flight if a drone is near an airport or near a restricted area. The drone will not fly. So that's why people aren't flying these near airports, because they just can't. And to make matters worse, it doesn't help that people publish videos such as this one showing a drone hitting an airplane. These videos are fake. Most times they're done, as in the case of this video, it was just done to demonstrate how well CGI could work in modeling an actual drone hitting an airplane. So you really have to look at a lot of these incidents with a very skeptical eye. So my takeaways from this rant are this. So I got a takeaway for pilots, drone pilots, and I got a takeaway for the government and the media. So for drone pilots, don't ruin our hobby. Fly responsibly. For the government and for the media, start with the media, quit using the word drone in every friggin' news report, and quit reporting on incidents that aren't investigated and then reporting them as if that is fact, that this is exactly what happened. It was a drone. That's not helpful to the public. And for governments, quit using the word drone as well in all your statements, because all you're doing is causing panic in the public for passenger air travel. Pretty soon, you're going to have such a panic on your hands that you're going to have to legislate everything. And poor little guys like me who are hobby drone pilots, next thing you know, we're going to be the bad guys. And it's going to be easier for me to buy a rifle or a gun, vice a drone, which is going to be outlawed. So, with all that said, everybody have a good day and safe flying.